Hello, my name is Ryan Erke. I'm the Sustainability Facilitator at the College of St. Scholastica, and you are attending the Art of Resilience 2020 Speaker Series. It's a partnership between University of Minnesota Duluth Sustainability Office and our office here at St. Scholastica. Today we have speakers talking about energy efficiency. If you are feeling like it's gotten a little bit colder out, you're correct. If it's gotten colder in your house or your apartment, and you'd like to fix that, you're in the right space today. So glad to have guests from Equilibrium 3 and from UMD to talk about this experience. I'm going to hand it over to Jana, who is our other host today. And in a moment, I guess there's a couple more things I want to mention. As people are talking today, you are welcome to ask questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that chat and we can pop that up there. There will be a presentation first and then a time for Q&A. And if you want to have your question asked in person, that's more than fine too. Sometimes questions are better asked that way. If you can clarify or it can go back and forth, just raise your hand and we can make it so that you are available as well. We are recording this session, so know that that's going to be the case for the questions and stuff, but please don't let that deter you from being a part of our conversation today. All right, John, I'll hand it off to you.
All right, so I'm Jana Corpy, and I serve as the Sustainability Coordinator for the University of Minnesota Duluth. Thanks, Ryan, for covering all of our housekeeping things. If you missed the memo, it is costume optional day. And I guess we'll just kick it over to our guests. Thank you again for being here today, folks. We'd like to start off today's session with you all briefly introducing yourselves. So please share who you are, what you do, and how you came to be involved in this work. And Joe, I'll have you start, and then you can pick somebody else to start.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Joe Bott. I am originally from Des Moines, Iowa, but I just moved up here in the fall to work with the AmeriCorps Vista. I'm the community energy organizer at Equilibrium 3. So we focus on energy needs of the Lincoln Park area and Duluth. I'll pass it off to someone who had my former role, Lucas, who's now on the Equilibrium 3 team full-time.
Yeah, hello. My name is Lucas Giese, and I am, my title is officially the Equilibrium 3 Vista Program Coordinator, but I'm heavily involved in Equilibrium 3's energy programs, which we'll be hearing about today, as well as some of the things you can do. And the third member of our team is Tristen, and I'll let him introduce himself.
There we go. I wasn't unmuting. Yeah, I'm Tristen. I'm the building analyst at Equilibrium 3. Been doing that role here for a little over 4 years now, I think. And kind of how I got started in that is also doing AmeriCorps. So a plug for that. Any of you future former college students should look into doing AmeriCorps. But yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Sorry. I'm Jaeger. I'm a fifth-year UMD student, and I'm the energy intern for the UMD Office of Sustainability. So I'm here to just talk about my experience with the energy audit and what went well, what didn't go well, and what we can possibly do better next time.
Well, thank you. We've got a little presentation here. I think that Joe will get shared up here in a minute.
Yep. That working, Lucas?
That looks good. So we're here today to talk a little bit about Equilibrium 3's energy programs, but really also ways in which that you all, as homeowners, renters, or kind of wherever you find yourself, can find ways to save energy, increase the energy efficiency of your housing situation, and in turn save money and save on greenhouse gas emissions. So a little bit about Equilibrium 3. We've actually been a partner of St. Scholastica and UMD in a number of different roles, but we are a community organization located in the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Duluth. So that is down the hill and on the other side of downtown, for those of you who may not be as familiar with Duluth. But our mission is to lead and inspire change toward an equitable and sustainable future, which, if that is not enough nonprofit kind of speak. We really do everything from sort of community organizing with residents and businesses in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. But one of our kind of main focuses and an area of our work that we've been engaged in for many years has been our work in energy. That takes a number of different forms, which you'll hear about, but one of them is our work with homeowners and renters through our energy audit program, which Tristen, who you met just a moment ago, leads. He's our Building Performance Institute certified energy auditor, and will actually come to homes and assess how a building uses energy and areas that can be improved upon. Obviously, given pandemic times, we've shifted that work to virtual energy audits. We can still give some great recommendations. The other kind of big area of Equilibrium 3's work in energy is surrounding weatherization, which is actually going and making improvements around some of the energy efficiency gaps that Tristen will identify in an audit. And this work is specifically focused to the lower income households in Lincoln Park, as well as throughout Duluth. And Equilibrium 3 has equity kind of at our core, and really that operates in our programs like Giving Comfort at Home, our weatherization program, that seeks to address energy poverty. Now, for those of you who may be paying your first utility bills, maybe this is your first winter away from home renting, you are going to quickly encounter that keeping the lights on and the heat running can be an expensive proposition. And we know that for some of our lowest income households, that we actually can find them in a state of energy poverty. This is a condition and a component of poverty that relates to overall really housing affordability, and is a component of everything from poverty in general, but also in terms of we find households that face situations where they have to choose whether to pay for necessities like food or medicines, or keep the lights on. Now, energy affordability or an energy burden is basically the proportion of your income that you spend paying for heat, paying for electricity. And if that proportion is over 6% of your household income, you are considered in energy poverty. We know that some of the lowest income households in St. Louis County actually pay upwards of 37% of their income towards their energy costs. And that's due to a variety of reasons, but this is a huge burden for our lowest income households. And I should note that when we calculate that, those energy costs, it's not just because the high burden isn't just because a household has such a low income, although that is a portion of it. We also actually know that low income households, because of their lack of disposable income, can actually make those investments in energy efficiency improvements that would be able to reduce their energy costs long term. The last thing on this I think we'll plug is there is the Low Income Energy Assistance Program that is available to households, as well as a number of other resources and programs like the Giving Comfort at Home program that Equilibrium 3 offers. But we know that one of the biggest challenges is actually getting eligible homeowners into those programs. So that is where Equilibrium 3 has stepped in to provide some of our additional services. One of these I will just plug because we think it's a great recent success is the Lincoln Park Solar Garden, which just last week we celebrated, but it's a 40 kilowatt array that just went up along I-35 at the entrance to the Lincoln Park neighborhood. You all should go check it out. It's pretty cool, if I can say so myself. But the power from that array is actually going to a community energy fund that will help Equilibrium 3 address energy burden and energy poverty right here in Duluth.
So I'll kind of take it over to Lucas now. Thank you, Lucas. And Lucas is a little too humble since he was a major player in that community garden being put up and getting that solar running in our neighborhood, which is really awesome. So shout out to him. So the biggest thing we want to talk about today, really addressing that energy poverty we kind of experience, or just so we kind of understand it better. But it's just like kind of what to look for when you're renting. So you might be a first-time renter, or you might be realizing that you've picked the wrong apartment this year and you want to do a better job next year to stay warmer, keep your bills cheaper, and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about kind of what to look for when renting in and around Duluth area. We'll talk a little about the home energy audit process, so what a home energy audit actually entails and what information it can give you to help better assess your energy needs, maybe save you some money, keep you warm and comfortable throughout the winter months, and even keep you more cool and cheaper energy come summertime too. Tristen will also kind of go over your standard utility bill, so what your comfort system bill looks like and kind of how you can better look at all the information on your Minnesota power utility bill to kind of assess where you're spending most of your electricity, or if you're using too much gas and that kind of stuff. You can kind of figure out a little better by understanding those bills what to do in the future. Also, we'll talk a little about the weatherization, so what you can do at your house that makes an impact, whether big or small, but with cheapness and that kind of stuff, to really make an impact over the winter months to keep you a little bit warmer. So basically, energy efficiency, it's kind of the idea of reducing your energy use. And there's two kind of types when you think about it. It's conservation and efficiency. So conservation is kind of using that less amount of energy, staying greener with everything, but energy efficiency is getting the most out of your energy. So how can you use something to get the best return on income and all that kind of stuff? So whether it be your water heater, it runs at 95% efficiency versus older models that run at 80%, where you're not losing that little bit of money or heat throughout the process of you actually obtaining that said heat. So basically what we want to do with energy efficiency is that saving the money, reinvesting in our economy, so keeping away from the greenhouse gases, so you're saving less time, you're saving more money, they're burning less fossil fuels, and kind of reinvesting in more green technologies today. So overall, it's going to create a more comfortable environment for yourself, but also reduce carbon emissions when you're losing less energy to attain the same amount of comfortability in your home. So the big thing when you're looking for renting, it can be tough sometimes when you're looking for your college house, you're going to live with your 3 or 4 buddies, you want to try to find cheap rent, but you also want to be afraid, or not afraid, but aware of certain things, so you can make sure you're not spending too much money on the back end when you don't realize it once you're kind of already living in that property. So the big thing you can do is talk to that landlord, or talk to the person you're potentially renting from. You can look at past energy bills and kind of see how that house functions as a whole. So most landlords can be upfront about that, or you can request it through the actual Minnesota Power Conference systems, and they can work with you to kind of give you an idea of where the energy spending has been in the past year or so. Always it's okay to ask if the property's an energy audit. And if it hasn't, maybe that's something you can talk to the landlord about. They can always reach out to us and we can get an energy audit done, or get an energy audit once you're in the place. It's always nice to look at your appliances too. So you can kind of spot when appliances are older, like refrigerators, dishwashers, washer, dryer, water heater, and that kind of stuff. Most of it kind of has a sticker on there to tell you exactly what their efficiency they're running at, but older units aren't as efficient, so you're going to be looking at spending more money to get the same amount of heat or same amount of return out of a newer appliance. And then a big thing you can ask too is what kind of improvements is the landlord okay with you making? So a lot of times there's small improvements you can make that aren't a large dollar sum that landlord might not do on their own, but if you're free to do them, that doesn't do any big changes to the house. Are they okay with you doing that? So a good thing to look for is always look for newer appliances, new windows. Windows are some of the more expensive energy fixes, but have a good portion of the insulation of your home when you have all the lighting and that kind of stuff. Smart or programmable thermostats. So a thermostat where you don't have to constantly change it. So when it gets hot, you don't have to turn it down. When it gets cold, you don't have to turn it up. So this will be adjusting. So when it hits set temperatures, will turn off and won't consistently run throughout your day. Again, updated appliances are always a good thing. A good thing to avoid in the Duluth area is your electric baseboard heating systems and your fuel oil heating systems. If the house does have these, you might want to stay away if it's not built into your rental price, but over a couple months of cold weather, you could be spending upwards a couple $100s per month on fuel oil just to keep your house warm as compared to natural gas, which is a much cheaper alternative that most of Duluth has to this point. So where to save in your home? So a lot of times as college students, you don't have a lot of money to spend, or you don't have a lot of liquid income just to invest in something that you only live at a place for a year. So a big place you can look for is that the lighting cost of your house, so light bulbs, the weatherization, so just air sealing around your doors and windows and that kind of thing, where it's going to block out a lot of that incoming cold air, keep your house more comfortable, a little more relaxing to be in. Also the appliances. So I know you can't always invest in large appliances, but even a programmable thermostat are pretty cheap these days, where it can make a big effect on your daily energy usage. So with lighting especially, LEDs are kind of standard now when it comes to green lighting in your house today. So you can kind of see on the graph where the lumens is like the brightness of a light bulb. The brighter the light bulbs, the higher the wattage is. But with our LEDs today, you can be almost a fifth of the wattage, and then that's just a decrease in energy and saving you money over time. So if you think in your apartment there's 20 light bulbs that can be changed out, that can make a big impact for a relatively cheap price up front. So the next big thing that you guys can do is air sealing and weatherization. So your house kind of acts like a chimney when you think about it. So cold air kind of comes in the bottom and it moves up through the layers as it warms up, and then the hot air escapes out the top of the house. That's called the stack effect. So we want to find ways to stop the cold air from getting in, and also ways to keep that hot air in the house. So you don't want to be losing all your hot air through the roof, through your insulation throughout the day. So then you're just bringing in more cold air, kind of causing a circulation effect. And that's where you can kind of address some of these things where you're affecting the building envelope, so that kind of outside the walls of your house that are stopping the cold air from coming in or the hot air from escaping. So doing this, like one of the ways you can do this is the window sealing. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, maybe around Duluth growing up. If you're from a colder weather climate, you can have plastic wrap over your windows, or maybe you have some like door jams that have like literally little bean bags basically stopping cold air coming in. But these are super easy kind of do-it-yourself cheap fixes that actually do make a big impact, whether it's sealing your window with some plastic, or you can see we have a clay stripping in this other picture where it is like basically a piece of clay that you can push around the window seal to stop air from leaking in throughout the winter. And that just comes off right in the summer when you want to open the windows back up again. So you're not really making any big alterations to your house. The landlord won't generally care. I mean, it's always great to ask to make sure they're okay with it, but they shouldn't be too adverse to that since it's not really affecting that window at all. Another crazy thing I learned recently was just locking your window. So when you close your window and you lock it tight, that last little bit of locking actually seals most of that window around. So it can make a big difference in your house by just simply locking each of those window latches around your home. So the other big one where air can come in a lot is your doors. So you might notice when you're walking through a room, you can feel a nice cold breeze and you look over towards the door and you kind of see some daylight coming in around that frame. That's just where air's leaking in pretty easily at that point. There's some simple methods, whether it's some door jams, which maybe a landlord might have to install, but otherwise we have great things like foam stripping that just adhesive can stick right inside of your door. And then when the door closes tight, then it creates a better seal so air doesn't get in or out as easily. As for appliances around your home, when you're looking to rent, if you're looking at newer appliances, the Energy Star logo is just a government-backed program that basically points out the highest efficiency models on the market. So it's always good to look for Energy Star appliances. That means they're the most efficient and they're going to save you the most money over that year of your time there. But when you are using those appliances, so if you have a dishwasher, dryer, or clothes washer, make sure you're using the sensor mode. So a lot of them these days have modes that tell you exactly when they're done or what they need. There's no point in running a dryer or a washer for 20 minutes longer and kind of wasting that much more energy. So sensor modes are always a little more energy friendly in that sense. And then you have your smart and programmable thermostats. So that's basically a thermostat that senses the air temperature in the room and will shut off or turn on based on the changing temperature. That's good to have just because you don't have to always be adjusting or finicking with it. So it gets too hot, you don't have to turn it back down. If it gets too cold, you don't have to turn it back up. You're kind of always in that good zone of what you want to be at. Another really cool thing that's coming on the market lately is smart power strips. So this is just a standard power strip, but it has some extra features, whether it be a little more expensive. They have Bluetooth enabled ones where you can hook your phone right up to it, or just simple ones that you can plug all your appliances into. So you know your TV's plugged into one slot, and the power strip can tell if the TV turns off, it turns off said appliances. So maybe your Xbox, your PlayStation, or like your DVR and that kind of stuff. If it's plugged in behind the TV power, once the TV turns off, those will turn off also, which can be big energy sucks throughout the day when they're not being used actually. So I'm going to pass it over to Tristen. He's going to talk a little more about your energy bills you'll receive each month as a renter.
Yeah, so this is just a comfort systems bill here. So comfort systems is kind of a little background on that quickly. It's a municipal utility. The city runs it, and they service your gas, water, and street lights. And their bills are kind of confusing because it's 3-4 different things on here, and there's a lot of numbers here. And I mean, a lot of people will just look at the bottom left here, kind of what's the balance due, pay it, and forget about it. On this thing, it's kind of easy once you look at this and they have the labels and stuff. This is available on their website if you want to take a closer look at this. But this is what everyone gets in the mail, assuming you pay the gas bill for the property. Now, some of you, I'm sure, there's actually quite a few homes in Duluth where it's just one central heating system, and especially if it's a multifamily home, the landlord cannot charge you specifically for the heating. They got to include that in the rent, just because they can't differentiate how much you're using versus how much the other person's using. So this is mostly strictly for those of you who do have split systems in the building, or if you live in a single family home, then you guys have to kind of pay this as well. But just to look here at that first red number, I don't know if you probably can't see my mouse here. Oh, there we go. That first one, and then actually the last one by that purple 12 are both your water. So here in Duluth, you get charged obviously for the clean water that gets sent to your home. Then you also get charged for sending that back down to WLSSD to clean that up. So you get charged twice. And they use a CCF figure. I'm not going to get into explaining that here, but usually I'd say the average use of a single-family home in Duluth is 2 to 5, 6 CCFs. Again, depending on how many people there are there, if you guys take long showers, things like that. But that's something to really monthly. I just take a quick look at that. I've done a few homes where they have a leaky toilet. That thing can be running, it can be leaking a gallon per minute. You figure if that's going for even a week, that can really add up. That can, especially with the water usage here, that can really affect your bill, can really jump it up. So really try and keep a look on that, stay on top of that. Listen to the toilets. If you hear the toilet making a weird noise it usually doesn't make, check it out, let your landlord know. You guys don't want to get stuck with having to pay for those leaks. They can really add up over time. And that'll affect both the water rate there and the sewage rate. And then the second one there then is and this is, I wonder if I should just screen share the yellow 4s down to gas rate there. Or sorry, no, it's in the yellow box there. The previous reading and then the current reading. This is hard to explain. That's kind of what we're looking at here. And then if you go over to the right there, that 154 is the usage under the yellow 4. Yep. So that's the usage for your gas there. So that's what you're paying for there. And again, just to keep in mind that this is multiple things. So that final balance is everything added together. But if you go down kind of the bottom left, they have the charge code there. So gas is 191.11. If you go up just a little bit with the marker there, yeah, just that area there, it just kind of has all the charges kind of separated out there. Just so you can kind of see what you are actually paying. Yes, this bill will probably most likely be higher if you have gas heating, but just keeping in mind that it's your water and your gas usage. If anyone has any questions on that, I mean, we can have it at the end, or again, I'll go over this a lot more in detail during the remote energy audits. And and then it's a lot more specific to your situation. I'll actually get the last year's usage. And a lot of you guys probably just moved in. I think Jaeger had been there for a couple months, but he had subletters and stuff like that. So it's a little harder to kind of look at your historic gas usage, but we can still get an idea of what you'll be looking at paying in the future for gas at that house, because it doesn't change a whole lot between people. And then I think I'll share. Was there a Minnesota Power Slider? I'm going to share my screen now, I think.
You're going to share yours now, Tristen.
Where to go? Share. And this will be a lot quicker here. Minnesota Power Bill is obviously just your electric use. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. It's kind of the first thing here is just kind of total due. That's what you're paying. Has previous balance here. Interim rate refund that's temporarily going on, and it has to do with, I think, the pandemic and everything. If you want more, you can call Minnesota Power about that. But that's kind of nice that that's going on right now.
Yeah, that was they actually overcharged for a rate case that they were going, and now are refunding us.
Yeah, so $13. I mean, that's not bad. So then we'll go down to the second page of the bill here. This just kind of is where you're getting at what you're paying for, basically. So we'll start at the top here. It's got your meter number, the start date, and the end date. So that's kind of when they took this first reading. This 5758 is the number of kilowatt hours it was at. And then they read it at the October 14th here. So this is my most recent bill. It was 6,100 there, kilowatt hours. So 380 total kilowatt hours at 6 cents a kilowatt hour, $22.50. Not bad. We don't use a whole lot of electricity here. Most of our stuff, as with most homes in Duluth, gas is used for the heating and water heating. So our electric usually isn't terrible. But yeah, that's the main thing I look at when looking at the electric bill. You can kind of see here, it'll give you the historic usage again, so you can kind of see all what happened here. Again, that's winter. Your heating systems uses electric to push the heat throughout the home, so it's going to go up in the winter wintertime usually. Summer, that's probably about what your average use will be, and then again, it's going to go up here in the winter again. This is just air conditioning, I think, right there. But yeah, just kind of looking at it, kind of getting an idea of what your usage is going to be, and kind of just watching it, because we're looking for, if it does jump up, you kind of want to figure out what's going on. Maybe it's something you can figure out to change and get your bill back down. I'm not going to get too much into all this other stuff here. If you want, you guys can look at your bills and look a little more at that, but I will go to where, so this is not, oh man.
You go to the dashboard, Tristen.
There we go. Is it going to make me log in though? Nope. So this is Minnesota Power's My Account. Everyone with an account can go on here and sign up for this and kind of get really detailed in your usage. It's kind of nice to have, like we were just looking at this earlier, this little dashboard thing up here. You can kind of look at these little, I don't know what you'd call them, these little info tabs. You kind of see your highest usage, last week usage, what your bill is, some energy tips, things like that. But really what I like about this is you can kind of go in to this thing and really mess around in here and look at where and when you're using electricity. So what was this? 11 o'clock yesterday. It's got yesterday. It goes up until, I think it's got last night at like midnight is kind of how far it's behind. So it's not too far off. But 11 o'clock here, there's two of us working from home right now. I think I did laundry yesterday and then about this time, and then we were cooking lunch. So you can kind of see the ups and downs, cooking lunch here, obviously sleeping. I'm assuming this has something to do with our boiler kicking on because it's been getting a little colder. But yeah, you can really just go back and just look, say you notice your bill's a little high this month, you can go back and kind of look for these peaks and kind of figure out what was going on there, hopefully. Or with the help of the remote energy audit, I can maybe help you do that as well a little bit. It also had these little things down here like average temperature. So you can kind of correlate. Let me go back into the 1-day thing here. You can kind of see with your heating system. This would really stand out with an electric heating system. I'm sure this would match up very closely if you have baseboard heat. But yeah, there's just a ton of things to play around in here. I definitely encourage you to go fill this out or set this up and kind of track there and kind of just keep a lookout for all that.
So I'll hop back over to my screen. So basically what we think you guys all should do, and I think it's be a very beneficial thing, and it kind of helps you learn more about your home and your rental situation even, is we can get you signed up for a home energy audit. And this is all online and free. And it'll basically like help you understand your home a little better when it comes to its energy profile. So you'll have like a Zoom call with Tristen. You can go over your utility bills, ask any questions about them, and he can give you a little more in-depth of understanding of what they are. He can look up your past usage so you can kind of predict exactly what you should be seeing over the next couple of months and that kind of thing. Actually, with Minnesota Power customers, they'll send you out a free kit. So you'll get some light bulbs and stuff. If you're an electric water heater, you'll get some aeration tablets for your faucet so you can save a little money on water usage that way. And also, we can discuss your eligibility for our weatherization service that we do for low income. So as a college student, if you're paying all your bills and your income isn't quite too high, there might be some ways for us to help you out and kind of get and weatherize your home at no cost to yourself. So that's a cool thing we can offer up today even. And I'm actually going to post something in the chat. It's just like a little doodle poll we've marked off over the next couple weeks, 10 different times. If you want to sign up for an energy audit, this is an easy way to do it. And basically will reach out to you and get you all set up to go, and it'll maybe help you kind of learn more about your energy usage at your home. I know Jaeger is going to kind of speak a little bit now about his experience doing the energy audit process. So I'll stop sharing my screen so we can see him.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I think especially for new time renters is a very, very beneficial thing to do, especially if you don't really have any background knowledge on like energy and like, I don't know, how to save energy in your home. I think the most beneficial part for me was going over the bills in depth with Tristen. He does a very good job of going over that. And when you actually do the energy audit, he's going to go over it in a lot more depth. So you can kind of see, I don't know, it just gives you a good visual on like where your money's going. Because for me, I mean, for a lot of people, I feel like you just kind of pay your bill every month. Your roommate asks you to Venmo them money and you just do it. You don't really think about how much money you're spending each month, and like you can't really see it going up. So going over the bills is very helpful in that, and seeing where you can save on money. And yeah, because overall I think it was a very, very good thing, and you guys should definitely do it.
Yeah, and I still have to send, you also get just a little report. So I have not sent that out to Jaeger yet. Just detailing some minor improvements and kind of what the savings would be for that. Just some tips. And then you also get, from Minnesota Power, a little energy kit with some light bulbs and other little energy saving deals. So just a little extra thing there.
Jaeger, was there anything that kind of surprised you, or anything that you weren't expecting to find in the process?
Not really, because I've done this thing before. I have some experience in it, so I wasn't really surprised by much of it. But I think what other people may be surprised on is how much your bills actually go up in the winter. I don't think a lot of people realize how significant increase that actually is, and how much, just looking out for things like drafty windows and adjusting your thermostat can really help out in those situations.
Maybe a follow-up to that too. Are there things that you've done in your own home so far?
Yeah, I mean, we put weather strips on the doors and plastic wrap over the windows and stuff like that. And we adjusted our thermostat. We set it to 68, which is what UMD has as our set point standard. So follow suit with that.
Awesome. Well, that's kind of it from our end. I mean, we encourage you to reach out with any questions to us. I mean, even right now, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we're always available. You can reach us through Equilibrium, or if you want to set up an energy audit today, that poll in the chat is available, so we can get you set up with one and kind of help you learn a little bit more about your home today. I'll pass it back to Jana.
Yeah, we're gonna open it up for questions, and we have one already. Is it too late to be cling wrapping your windows? Is there a best time to do it, or can you just do it now?
You can do it whenever you want. It doesn't really matter. The only thing is, if it's a really drafty window, the little tape you stick isn't going to stick as well. So the little trick is to use the hair dryer to put up the tape. And then I don't know if you guys have never done one. You got to use the hair dryer to kind of stretch the film out so it gets rid of all the wrinkles and stuff. So, but yeah, you can do them whenever.
Are there any, I'm going to ask a question myself. Are there any no-cost things that people can do to maybe just improve their comfort? Or, if their landlord says, no, you can't do any of these things, are there things that people can do to be more comfortable in their homes without having to spend anything?
Well, I would say if you don't want to, I would always recommend, not using space heaters or stuff when you're cold. And instead, if you're cold in your house, just bundle up, wear a sweatshirt, just stay warm in ways like that instead of having to use extra heat to stay comfortable.
Yeah, and with that, as far as a dollar standpoint, set your thermostat to what you want to be. Don't set your thermostat low and then use a electric space heater. That's most likely going to cost you more. Of those space heaters, they're all, even though they'll say energy efficient, they're all the same. It's all resistance electric heat, which I don't think has changed in 40 years. So yeah, just try not to use those electric space heaters. They can really jump out. So, because most of them are like 750 to 1500 watt heaters. It's going to add up real quick.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I noticed when going through my bills with Tristen is there was some certain points during the day where the electricity use jumped up, and we were talking about that maybe because of my roommate using a space heater up into his room in the attic where it's super drafty, or him using an air conditioner in the winter. And it's just those little things can really add to your bill.
Yeah, as far as no cost things, wear a sweatshirt. It's winter in Duluth, like Jaeger said.
Something that people don't really think about, and maybe don't have a ton of control because maybe you have a small space, but not blocking your vents with furniture.
No.
Not only can it be a fire hazard, but if your heat's going straight into the bottom of your couch, you're probably not feeling it very much. So I like to remind people, move your furniture off of your vent.
I guess that reminds me, just behavior things. Set timers on Christmas lights. Don't leave your TV on all the time. Your gaming systems, things like that. Those smart strips can help with that, but if you're not using it, just flip the switch on it or unplug it. Just little behavior things like that. Especially if you are in a home with electric baseboard, if you're not going to be there throughout the day, don't leave it set at 70. This, especially with electric, set it down to like 55 or something. Or just turn it off. When you get home, it'll be cold, but you can turn it back on to heat it up again instead of heating it all throughout the day. Turning lights off. Don't take 30-minute showers. Things like that.
I'd say make use of natural lighting and heating as well. Like keep your windows open so you don't have to turn on your lights during the day. Just little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another question that came out, and it's for people who may not live here in Duluth but are over the bridge in Superior area. What kind of services, are there any services available from Equilibrium 3 or other areas that you can recommend people to check out?
Oh, I don't think Superior has anything. We don't. We can't do the audits over there.
Yeah.
There's no rebates.
Yeah, Equilibrium 3 isn't contracted, so the audit wouldn't be free. But we could take a look at the home for you. Wisconsin does, though, have kind of a statewide program that's known as Focus on Energy. which is a program that would have similar sort of services, energy audits, similar to what Equilibrium 3 does, as well as some weatherization services. I don't know exactly kind of where they are at in terms of different companies doing remote energy audits, similar to what Eco 3 is offering. But that'd be a good question for your utility company. So if you're in Superior, it's Superior Water, Light, and Power, and they would likely be able to connect you to resources.
Great, cool. So I remember maybe it was about a month ago or so, and I feel like have done this in the past too. It's like, I don't want to turn on the heat. I don't want to turn on the heat. But then I was like, well, I'm just going to like have my oven going a little bit more often and stuff like that. Like, what does that make sense? Like, is that a good move to make, or when is it not a good move to make? Like, using that to like kind of eke out another week or two of trying to be miserable but not turn on the heat.
I'm gonna say with a forced air furnace that the heat is pretty instant. So I just stick to using that. I don't know if I ever want to recommend using an oven to heat. So I just try using that, unless it's like, maybe if you have a small space heater, using that for like an hour or something, if you don't want to heat the whole house up. The only spot where I'd say maybe not doing that is like with my house, we have in-floor heat with a boiler system, so it's going to take a little bit to warm that slab up. And say we did that back in September for a cold night, and then the next week it's 80 again. Our slab's still going to retain some of that heat, and then when we don't necessarily need it on, so using some type of space heater is kind of what we'll do. This year I think was kind of weird though, and we kind of got hit with the cold right away, so we didn't have to worry about it too much, I don't think. But yeah, just trying to, I guess the other thing to help with that is, not right now, but this time of year, and I think Jaeger had kind of mentioned this, is opening your blinds, letting the sun in during the day, and then closing those at night if you do have them. It can kind of really help to, what's the word now? I can't think of it. Just
temperature differential.
Yeah, that's solar heat gain.
Yeah, solar heat gain, and like with passive solar homes, kind of similar to that. Just letting that sun heat it up. It's free. Then closing those blinds, kind of stopping the drafts a little bit, and using that, I think would work.
So to put some numbers to a few of these things that people can do, if folks haven't ever bought weather stripping for doors, so I have one giant front door. How much is a weather stripping kit going to cost me?
Aluminum, a thing of aluminum weather stripping, it'd be, God, we haven't gone to buy them because we haven't been doing them as much lately because of the pandemic. I think they're like $10 to $20 for aluminum weather stripping. Mm-hmm. That foam tape stuff, which works. It's honestly a little harder to use because you'll get a gap. You'll cover one gap here and then you'll get another gap there. But it can work. That stuff's maybe like $5 for 20 feet of it or something like that. It's all. And window kits are maybe like $1 per window or something like that if you get the bigger kit. So I think you could do a whole house with all that for, definitely under $100, probably closer to $50 or something, if that. And then one thing I'll do in the report, kind of give you an idea of like, if you do 5 windows in your home, I have a little energy calculator so I can figure, maybe that'll say it saves $20 and it costs you $10 to do it. Renting, you're probably only going to be there a year. You want to pay back under a year if you're really focusing just on, the dollar amount. So I can kind of help with things like that. And then light bulbs, like I said, you get some for free with the remote audit. LED light bulbs have come down a ton in price. Honestly, what I did when I was renting, the LEDs were a little more, but I'd replace them when I moved in, and I'd put the old ones back when I left and brought the LEDs with me for my next house. So, and they're going to last 15, 20 years. So LEDs, yeah, they've come down a bunch. I think they're like $1 or something a piece now. So yeah, not too much, especially if there's, 3-4 of you in a house, you could split that cost up between you, and definitely makes sense.
So if you already have a thermostat, like a programmable thermostat, and you're all right, like sleeping cold, like is there a certain differential you should have between, like, does it make sense to let it drop really cold at night if you have to heat it up really warm in the morning? Or like a lot of us are at home right now and stuff, but I'm kind of curious about like how wide a gap should it be where it really does it make sense to let it drop really low if you have to heat it up pretty warm again in the morning? I guess it depends also on the heating type of system you have too.
Yeah. I think usually when they make those equations, they say like a 5 to 10 degree drop. And honestly, with setbacks, the savings from the calculations that I've looked at and stuff, it's not going to be hundreds of dollars a year. But it'll definitely help a little bit. And again, with the setbacks from the contractors I've talked to, only do it with forced air furnaces. You don't necessarily want to do it with a boiler system, just because the way the two systems work. The boiler's kind of radiating the heat from the radiators, whereas the furnace is blowing that heat. It's kind of a more up and down thing, whereas a boiler's a little bit more constant kind of a thing. So just the differences in the systems, you'd look at doing that with a furnace, but not necessarily a boiler system. So.
And when you say boiler, Tristen, for some of the students that are on here, you're talking about like the radiator water-based system.
Yeah, usually, if you have a boiler, you'll know it's the big metal thing in the corner somewhere, usually by windows and doors. Sometimes they look like they're along the floor. That look like baseboard heaters, but it's still water heat. But yeah, majority water heat there. So, and the forced air is you have the ductwork where it blows the hot air.
I've seen with radiators sometimes that they're like covered up like with a decorative box or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about that and whether or not that's how that affects your heat?
Usually they say to try and leave them uncovered. I think they've had the boxes. I mean, some of those boxes are probably almost original to the home because they want to, set stuff. The radiator, it takes up space, so they want to use that space, so they put a box over it. But it is going to, block and absorb some of that heat from getting to the rest of the home. So usually the recommendation is to, leave those uncovered. I've even heard of putting that foil-backed foil facing behind that to reflect the heat out towards the rest of the room. That can be something. When I've recommended it, they say no way because it's not going to look the best in your home. But yeah, if you can, not covering them up. Don't put your bed over it. And like John has said earlier, with not putting your couch right in front of the ductwork if you can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Something I discovered at Menards this year just seemed like the silliest thing. It's just like this little plastic chute. We have a very strange living room situation where there's nowhere else for the couch to go except on top of the duct, and this little chute goes right on top of the duct and it shoots the hot air out from underneath the couch. So while you're sitting on the couch, you get nice warm toasty toes. And I was like, this could be a complete disaster, but it was like $6, and now that heat's coming out into the living room and warming up my feet whenever I'm on the couch. So that was kind of a neat thing to discover. And
yeah. And another thing, this isn't something necessarily as a renter you'll be able to change much, but just keep it in mind when setting the heat, the location of your thermostat, because that's what tells the furnace or boiler to send the heat. So say you got a bunch of people cooking and the thermostat happens to be by the kitchen, then the outer rooms are probably going to get a little bit colder because the thermostat's not going to call for heat. Or say you're having hopefully not anymore, but say you're having a party and everyone's sitting in the living room where the thermostat is, then the upstairs rooms, again, it's not going to call for heat because it's going to be 75 in there when it's only set to heat at 68. Similarly with, if you do happen to have electric baseboards in your room, we'll often find that the thermostat will say 70 degrees, but it's just some random numbers on plastic. It's probably off, and that may actually be 70, or I mean, you'll set it at 70, but maybe that's actually 80, just because it's not accurate. So getting maybe just a little thermometer thing in there and kind of learning how that thermostat works and figuring out where to set it. can help a little bit with those too. So
another thing with electric baseboard, oftentimes they'll have their own settings directly on the baseboard themselves. So
yeah.
even if your thermostat is set to something, it may be kicking out some other type of heat.
I've got a couple weird things here that I do to keep warm, like my own personal, and I actually just got one. So one of the things I have is like a little, like, this thing's full of bean. I think it's full of, like, I don't know, maybe like, I think it's like some sort of grain or something like that. And it's got some fabric on it. And I put it like in the microwave, warm it up, and like I put it underneath my feet, and so like keeping my body warm. I'm a little embarrassed to share this, but I also bought these the other day. Have you ever seen these before? So it plugs into my computer, and it's like for hand warmers.
Huh.
And it's kind of like a little mini electric blanket. I don't know. They're like $10, kind of like the the $6 thing that came from Menard. Have I shown you these, Johnny, yet?
No, you haven't.
So I'm out in the shed outside here, and I've been trying my best not to turn the heat. I do have like a heat system in here, and I do have like a little thermostat. I broke down, but I usually try to keep it cool. But my hands, like, I can dress warm, but then my hands are like the coldest. So I bought these off of Amazon. I will see what to take out. Like, I don't know. But and then I just got hats and stuff too, like, and I got a sleeping bag on and everything. But I don't think I'm not trying to be a martyr. I just like feel a little weird about it too.
Well, that's little things where keeping your immediate space hot so you don't have to heat the whole space can help. If we could invent something where it just heats where we are and it follows us around, that'd be great. But can't. So we're not.
I do want to be mindful of time. We've got a couple of minutes left. I want to give you all a chance to share any additional thoughts or information that we didn't get to, and then we'll adjourn for the day. So anything else that people want to share?
Just maybe have Joe plug America or Lucas plug America one more time real quick, because they make a lot of this work much easier for me. They help me out a ton. So if you have any questions, let us know about that.
Yep. And Ryan and I are both AmeriCorps alums as well. So if people have questions about AmeriCorps, we've got a lot of expertise on this call. Any other thoughts? Cool. Well, I really appreciate all of your time spending with us here today. Folks that are in attendance, if you have additional questions or want to connect directly with Ryan or myself, our contact information is on the screen here, and you can connect with us via email or social media. Both work really well. Please keep an eye out for future webinars. We don't have one scheduled right now, but we are hoping to get one more in before the winter break. And just appreciate all of you very much, and I'll let Ryan say his goodbye.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. I think one thing we didn't touch on, if you are living on campus, I'm guessing you maybe aren't still on the call. We talked about a lot of off-campus stuff, but if you know people on campus, keep your windows shut. Like, that's a big thing. Even if you're hot there, that's not too energy efficient, and it actually causes a lot of heat problems within the building. So if you have problems with their heat, talk to your resident assistant, talk to other people on the floor, and let them know what's going on. And usually there's a process to deal with that. Submit a work order, and that can be fit. Yeah, thanks so much for attending. I want to do, so the plan is for our next session to focus on sustainable menstruation and different products for feminine hygiene. And so that's something that we're hopefully going to offer before winter break. I'm super excited to be supporting that. And if you're interested in that and you want to get involved with the kind of the planning of the process of developing a session, feel free to reach out to Jana or myself as well. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.